Hello everyone, myself Shweta Shetty, working as an assistant professor, Department of ISC, MITM. So in continuation to the last class, we'll start off with the next topic, that is the requirement engineering. So this requirement engineering plays the major role in analyzing the, that's the fundamental we can say, okay. This is the basic for the analyzing the how actually the particular requirement process goes. What is requirement engineering? Very first. So it's an functionality or the characteristics where that will reach us to the targeted system. How it will reach the targeted system, that's the question. So very well, with respect to that, we'll go with the 4 steps in the requirement engineering. That is the very first is the requirement elicitation, and the next is the requirement analysis, and the third one is the requirement validation with respect to that, and the before that we will also go with the requirement evolution. So what is these 4 steps and how it is related with the spiral model of the work. So what is this process goes with the very first, as I said, the start of the process we are going to meet the clients. So on meeting the clients we will get the requirements, and accordingly we will start discovering the requirements. That is the very first stage, that is the requirement elicitation. So once the requirement we get, we will categorize into 2 types, that is the user requirement and the system requirement. All your user requirements is the it is basically the requirement that is written for the customers, where that will be in the form of understandable natural languages. Is it not? You will see the user manuals. So on seeing the user manuals, you will get an idea what is this product and how to use it and how to make use of all those instructions will be given in the proper understanding level. Whereas the system requirement is different, that is the detailed description should be written, that is how actually the software is being done from the scratch, from the first step, that is how it has been dealing with this particular product, what are the techniques, what are the skills and what are the designing. So all that info will be with respect to the system requirement. For real time example, for case studies we have learnt in the last, that is the mental health care system, right, that is the MHC PMS, that is the patient monitoring system. So with respect to that, what happens if we say regarding the user requirements, among that we will just get the details of the clinics, where what is the amount of taken, that is what the main concept of MHC PMS, with the help of that particular centralized system where the patient can be able to find out the clinics that is around him, and finally the doctors available to treat him, and with the required form of dosage of medicines they are going to provide him. So all that is the where centralized database will be maintaining. So if we go with the in-depth, that is the system requirements, it goes with the monthly report, that is what's happening with respect to this patient, what is the amount of drugs has been supplied to him, and what is the condition of the patient, and what are the other administration people, what they have work been done, and how the doctor's availability of the report, all that in-depth details will be followed. That's an example of using the user requirement and the system requirement. So likewise what happens here also you are going to deal, and what happens here, only engineers cannot work with the requirements, he should be interconnected to the stakeholders. So what does the stakeholders do? That is, it might be the managers, that is the and domain experts, as well as the technical skilled peoples. He should approach them, and on taking the requirements from the customers, he should analyze it, whether these requirements what they are given, I can bring up the applications properly with this particular platform, and I can build the product. So after that, again here also the process of your validation process occurs. On to that will be continuated with the evolution of the process, that is the requirement will be validated, and finally it will be sent for the evolution by using the design concepts. But the problems also occurs with this. What are the types of problems it may occur? One thing is where the customers are not they do not know what actually they want, one thing is, and the requirement what they have given, that might be in the confusion form, where it might be whether it is what is the kinds of requirement they have itself, that is the confusion. Then in continuation to that, where the proper availability given by the requirements, there is not a proper way to bring out the product. So these all are the problems that will be where the software engineers is going to handle. So while gathering the requirement, that is especially while analyzing it, that plays the major role. Fine. So after that, so next thing is interviewing. So what is this interview? Why we require the interview, you may ask. What is the purpose of this? So there are two types of interviews. It might be the closed interviews or it might be the open interview. So basically the purpose of using these interview concepts in the requirement engineering. So in the closed, where the predefined list of the questions will be there, and accordingly the interview will be done and the requirements will be gathered. But in the open, that is in open interviews, what happens? There will be a communications where openly handled different difficulty tasks can be arise. The questions might be arise, the confusions might be arise. So those kind of things to be analyzed. For that purpose, the open interview also will be done, where they will set up the main important effective thing is how much we are going to exposing to the outer world with the defined requirements. Will get to know what is the actual requirements our customers is going to accept it and how the product can be run successful. So for that purpose, what we need to do is we need to go with this particular interviews, that is the closed interviews as well as the open interviews. On doing this, what happens? That basically helpful in coming up by the different difficulties. If the difficulties arise in the beginning stage of the development, what happens? We can come up by the many solutions. If it happens after the validation process, that is after the testing process, once the product is been reached to the customers, if we find the difficulties during that time, what happens? That really makes the difficult task. Hence, how many difficulties we need to find out, that will be interviewed during with the help of this particular interviewing concepts. So with that, what happens? That will be followed by the different methods, that is the scenarios. What do you mean by scenarios? That is the basic to the scenarios we can speak are timing, that is what is the type of system that should be built up, then what is the event of flow that should be happen. So there is a actual way, that is the on particular this step should be followed. That is, once we are going to gather the information, analyze it and find the flow of that, create the event and finally validate and evaluate it. So accordingly, that makes the scenario concepts with respect to in the requirement engineering. So with respect to that, also we deal with the use cases. So how this use case diagram will be used and what is the use of it. So use case diagrams are nothing but we are going to deal with the different roles and the actions. So what is this use case diagrams basically? Why do we use that? I said, while designing the softwares, what happens? You need to follow up different kinds of diagrams, right? So either it might be the activity diagrams or it might be the class diagrams. So among that, we will notify that. That is just we'll find out whenever some problem is given to you or some requirement is given to you. You need to find the interactions to that. So in order to make that, one of the best ways is the notating with the form of the unified modeling language, that is with the help of the using use cases. So what this use cases basically, we'll use the notifications, that is if it is the person, there are some roles in this particular instances, we make use of, we call them as the roles, that is these are called as the actors. These are called as the actors, and whereas these are what is the action that should be performed. So if I take an example here, that is the actors, one is the admin who will register the patient and view the personal info, right? So if we give the connectivity to the doctors, so where here the doctor is able to view the personal info of the patient. as well as he will view the record of the each person. Then into that what happens, the administration where he can edit the record and as well as the where the set up the consultation. So likewise there will be different actors and the different roles. So on according to this, the use case diagrams also helps in notation. This is a simple example. When you are going to write the your own software things, what happens during that time, you will come up by this particular actors and the doctors. So when you are build or in your final years, you will be going with your projects. So during that time you will go with this particular concept of use case diagrams by using like this actors and the required actions. So anything that is where I can understand what's happening here with the patient and with the doctor as well as the admin and the nurse. So how they are going to set up the requirements. So how they are interrelated. I'll get an idea over this. Is it not? So likewise the use case diagram is the one of the notation to analyze the requirement engineering. So next topic we shall discuss regarding the ethnography. So what is this ethnography in generalized way? Is nothing but where the set of people. So this is kindly we can say a social organization of people, they'll observe the requirements, that is the work of the workers, how actually on basis of what is the task they are going to perform, they are going to analyze the behavior and in what sense and what is the concept is in his mind. While bringing up the product, those analysis set of analysis will be performed, and accordingly in order to analyze that, a set of people, those are called as the where they perform this survey we can say. So they will understand what is the, they will come up, they will join the what is the gap that is happening to the outer world, what is the requirement actually the people require, and how the actual work of an organization is going to happen. So in order to do that, in order to analyze that, this kind of people will analyze it by the help of that ethnography practice. So what is that ethnography? That is the they will debrief the meetings, that is what's the purpose of working and what you are trying to work on and what is the main intention to bring out the some product. So on focusing the ethnography, they will find out what actually whether the work what it is going, whether it is going in a efficient way. So for that what happens, the prototype evaluation will be done. So some meetings will be conducted and they will take out what's actually, see whatever the product they are going to buy while the software engineers is going to build, that should not be only purpose of the money. So what happens, there should be a thing of where that should be helpful for the social cause. So in order to analyze all those inspections and reviews will be happening with respect to this prototype evaluation. With respect to that, what happens, the generic system development. So one phase of working will be continuously on to the target, whereas other phase of the workers will be to the requirement changes where they will be undergoing this particular ethnography process. So with respect to this to be analyzed, that will be divided into functional and non-functional requirements. So what is this functional and non-functional requirements? So here in the functional requirement, basically what they are going to try is what the system should do. Instead of how it will be done, what the system should be done, and for the given inputs actually the behavior of the system should be give a proper output. So in accordance to that, this functional requirement and non-functional requirements will be undergoing. So while doing the projects, how we are going to categorize hardware requirements and the software requirements. Here also in perspective of the requirement engineering, we are going to consider into the functional and non-functional. So I am the customer, when I buy the product, what is my expectation? That is just to analyze the product, just test it and I will check out some of the requirements, and if I understood that, I am going to buy over that. Is it not? If it is very complexity, We are not going to. So what is according to my requirement, it is going to match, will buy up. So likewise here also the functional requirements where they are going to reach the customer requirements. Basically immediately or automatically the system should provide the reports, or I should mail the reports. So all that automatic way of generation of the some procedures that follows. For an example of your MHC PMS. So if you take in a mental health care system, what we are expecting as a customers, that is the, as I am a patient, what I want to know is which are the clinics available around me and what are the doctors available and will I get the appointments to them. Just that is what as a customer I am going to check, is it not? So those kind of search things, that is where the requirement should be always precisely defined. If it is imprecision, that leads to some other risk. So what happens, we need to define the requirements precisely and it should be defined properly. If it is not defined properly, that may lead to the other problems. So hence the imprecision also plays the role in the requirement engineering concepts. With respect to in functional, we will also deal with the completeness and consistency. Completeness and consistency. What is this completeness and consistency? So all that goes with the completeness and consistency is once you have started with your bringing up the products. So next thing is, what is that? It should follow all the process. That's why it's a systematic way. Is it not? From the scratch to the, from the scratch where the idea will be executed, that should be formed into the product. So there should be completeness of the requirements. There should not be any ambiguities. If there is ambiguities, that may lead to the further it may affect the product. So what happens during that time? The completeness of the product should be formed. So accordingly the functional requirements plays the major role over there. Then also there should be consistency. One of the requirements is where I can match over the one module and other cannot. That should not be not like that. So what happens? Completely there should be a consistency over the requirement. So hence where this functional and non-functional requirements will be set. So what about this non-functional requirements? What are the other set of things which are non-functional? That is, the best example is all of your performance, where the time, where the security or the logging. So all this comes under the non-functional requirements which we cannot predict in the very first manner itself. So what happens? Where the set of standards of the time or the required given budget. So all that comes under the non-functional requirements where we may not know how actually the security purpose we will be given, but how sure it is going to work with the 100% of the efforts we may not know. So likewise the non-functional requirements also plays the major role while working towards the any of the software engineering concepts. So basically for this purpose itself, every time the requirements will be divided into functions. Why? Because the functional requirements itself we are telling what is the input I am giving, where I am going to expect the required output, that should be 100% correct. So likewise whatever we are going to follow with respect to that should be neat form, that is the standardized form where it gives the actual working process of the requirements. What are the, we can categorize the types of non-functional requirements. So standardized ways we can categorize it. So very first is the product requirement, second one is the organizational requirement, and the third one is the external requirement, and the thing is of the fourth one is the ethical requirement. Fine. So if you are going to say this, the product requirements, as I said, those are the non-functional requirements. So which we cannot predict over this, that might be the performance. So it might be the good performance can be expected from the required product, as well as the where it can be reliable, that is we can trustworthily we can accept that particular product, or sometimes there may not be reliable things, we cannot trust it. Fine. So some of the other complications may appear. So then as the portability also plays the major role, where whether it suits to the other systems, that is where there is a compatibility between the different platforms, your software should accept it, otherwise it is also a failure. So those kinds of requirements which we call as the product requirements. Then the second one is the organizational requirement. So what are the types of organizational requirement we are supposed to use it? That is the process standards, implementation requirement and the delivery requirements. As an organization, the main aim or the main goal is we need to bring up the good process software product where the name will be given to the particular organization. Is it not? Likewise, how we are going to bring purchase the products on the basis of the branded. So if there is this particular name, we will trust it. So we will find it that is a reliable where we can bring up. So likewise, here also the organizational requirements that place the standard in the process. Each process should be working as to the procedures. Then the implementation, that is where actually your designing phase as well as the program language process goes. So that is the implementation part. And the most thing is delivery. When it is entered to the market, where all the customers should be happy with the particular software or the product. So these are the set of standards where the organizational requirements plays role. Then within this, one more requirement is also the not only the only engineers who work in the organization and set of process requirements. No, external requirement is also important, where the software engineer should be given some importance towards this. What is that? Interoperability requirement. That is, as I said, that should also compatibility, it should work with the other organization systems, and where it should also match over that. It should not be only to the required thing. So for that, what happens? We need to come up by the interoperability requirement. And with respect to that, the most important, that is the legislative requirements. So as in the beginning itself we said, we should be professionalism, there should be a ethics. So set of rules where that will be bring the software engineer. So accordingly, he should also be aware of the laws. So legislative laws he should follow, and he should bring up the product or the software things. And ethics, as I said, ethical requirement is also very much important, so that he should not misuse the required product in selling to the other customers and misusing of the computers. So all that makes the things. So all these are the requirements that is under the types of non-functional requirements that will be categorized, and accordingly, as I said, the security, logging, the performance, the standards. So those kinds of the requirements which we call as the non-functional requirements. So the most important thing, that is during your placements and all, they'll ask you the question of SRS, that is the system requirement specification. What is this SRS? As a software engineers, this is more important to maintain the system requirement specification documentation. So The structure of this SRS. Excellent. So SRS, that is the system requirement specification. So what is the use of this? As I said, that's the main documentation where the requirement specification should be done properly. Why? What is the use of it? So as a customer view, that should be in the natural languages. So you may see the manuals, it might be in the 2 to 3 languages, which is on the base of the understanding of the customer to that particular regions, right? So likewise in the basically English is the where we use the come up by the some natural languages where it should be understandable way. So that documentation should be in that particular form, as well as the structured natural language where set of standards should be applied. So accordingly the design description of the languages also should be done properly, so that should be analyzed in order to analyze. That is the what is the design form, what is the descriptive form, what is the type of design that should be applied over this particular product and how it is being used, and as well as the graphical notations. By you looking into the graphical notations, that is what we said in the previously, UML notations or the scenarios ways with the activity diagrams way. So we can analyze what is the notation and notational form, and we can come up by the what's the process is being used here and how it is actually related with the software process model. And mathematical specification, either it might be in the finite state machine form, that is you learn with respect to the upcoming semester automata theory, where you are going to see how actually the set of states of the finite state machine will be notated. With respect to that, how actually the required info will be turned out. So as an software engineering, as I said, this SRS document, system requirement specification document, this is the most important steps to be followed. With respect to this, we will get an idea what actually is being done by the software engineers with respect to the software product. So that is why this 5 process will be plays the major role in the software requirement specification. So if you are well going with that, the next step is all over our requirement validation, right? So what is this requirement validation? So once the product is ready, with the design is ready, with the implementation is ready, and next thing is what I do is the requirement validation. So how will you validate the requirements? So is there some of the points that should satisfy? So that's the very first is the validity. Is that we look into the validity of the required software product, so whether it reaches the customer requirements. So on basis of that, if it is success, then we will take out with respect to this product, yes, I can find out this and I can validate it. And next is it should reach the consistency. So if there is any conflicts over this, that should resolve, so it maintains the consistency in the product. Then the completeness, all the required functions what the customers is accepting, that should satisfy the requirement, that is the completeness. And the realism, that is where it satisfy the customers thing, that is the reality to the real time examples, it should work to the requirement specified by the customers. Then the verifiability, that is the last, that is the testing phase where it will be validated. The required validation techniques we have undergone, that is as I said, it might be the unit testing, it might be the integration testing, it might be the alpha and beta testing. So on doing all those testing, each of the requirement will be validated and the requirements reviews will be done last phase. That is on basis of these points will be come to the conclusion. The final product whatever we are going to release is where there is a long process. Before that, when we are clear with the requirements, that is why it is a concept of requirement engineering. So that takes a long process. Once the requirement is proper, then only we can go to the further step of analyzing it and we can convert into the designing phase. So likewise here also ongoing with all this process, the completeness, this particular requirement validation will be performed. So very first is the, so how does this requirement evolution process has been going on is all about the initial understanding. Very first initial understanding, then goes the initial requirements. Then after that, that will be changed to the understanding of the problem, that will be converted to the understandable format, and finally that will be called as the changed requirement. So this is the evolution of the requirement goes on. Passing all these questions, then only the requirement will be validated properly. So the next topic is all about the review checks. So why we require this review checks? Do we require on completion or the implementation of the product, that is in the previous, after the validation we need to review it. That is again one of the checkings will be done on the basis of these 4 points, that is the verifiability, comprehensibility, traceability and adaptability. Why is this particular 4 points is required over here? So on verifiability we are going to find or verify the requirements, and accordingly if that reaches the requirements then only we will accept it, otherwise again we need to come up by the from the scratch. So then if it is comprehensibility, that is where it will be comprehending with the required given requirements, then they will find yes it is okay with this particular validation of the requirements, then I can proceed further. Then whatever the changes, if suppose it's been done, that should be traceable. So where if some problems or some mistakes has been done with the requirements, during that time again there should be an option of tracing over that particular document. Then it should be adapting to the required changes. So if it satisfies all these points, then only after the review checks the form of the required validation will be performed as the perfect. Otherwise if it failed in this particular concepts, again they should start taking the requirement discovery and requirement analysis, and again they should compromise with the in order to compromise the customer, so that telling that we cannot come up by these particular requirements, can we change over that, fine. So then the last is the requirement management. So as I said, management plays the major role over here, that is the on basis of changing requirements. We may not give the assurance, that is once the requirements given by the customers, that is the finalized. No, in order to analyze the difficulties, whatever happens with respect to those things, what we need is it should adapt the changing requirements. So if suppose, as we know the 3 models we have learned, waterfall and the incremental and the spiral, we have seen what are the complexity that has been observed in the each phases, the advantages as well as the disadvantages. In the waterfall model, if suppose some changes to be done, what happens? Again from the scratch of the requirement analysis should be done, is it not? Again the documentation should be changed. So likewise this requirement management, where that should give the assurance, if suppose the changing requirement is required also, we can accept it. So for that sake, on basis of that changing requirements itself, this management will be working on. So how does they plan it? So basically they plan on this particular 4 points, that is the requirement identification. While identifying the requirements, they make sure that the required planning should not change further. So that's the assurance they will try to accept, and accordingly they will start planning whatever the requirements given by the clients, I can identify and I will take it and I will gather and collect it. Then a change management process. So as I said, there is no particularly we say this is the 100% requirements, this is completed, I will do it the product. No, it should also be ready for the changing of the processes. Then traceability policies also, that is why we are documenting it. Very first the software was just coding and just building the required model and we used to deploy it. But what happens, the next evolutions that made, the proper documentation should be done, so that the engineers, if suppose the product after releasing to the market also, he can bring up the required problems that occurred also, he can come up by that particular problem. So hence this traceability policies also plays a major role. Then tool support. So it might be the other kinds of tools, it might be the spreadsheets or it might be the database. So the required tools for, that's why the platform while choosing the requirement plays the major role. So engineer should be able to take what the platform is going to handle, that should accept the required database systems or what is the types of new tool support that should support the requirement. So that also plays the major role. So on basis of the platform, on basis of the software process model, he will get an idea and accordingly he will start working on. So this is how the requirement management, where the planning process occurs. So in accordance to this, what happens, they are also again they'll work on the 3 points: requirement, change management. That is the last option, requirement change management. Why we require that? That is the problem analysis and specification. By doing all these points perfectly, what happens if suppose the product is in some problem, during that time when the client comes back to the software engineers, what happens, with the help of this documentation he will find out where actually the analyze the problem of analysis and the specification, and accordingly he will find the solution to that. I can change or something, I can bring up the solution for that particular problem. And the change analysis and the testing, again they will check out whether the testing process will be performed, can I make the required changes and bring up the testing, and finally change implementation. So whatever the problem occurs also, the engineer should be able to come up by the solutions. So this is how the requirement engineering goes with this particular 4 process. That's why I said that's the discovery, analysis and the validating and the evolution. So enacting changes, we may not say once the software is ready and it's been given, it's none of my business. No, hence the software engineer also should be able to maintain it, and again he should be able to reuse it. That plays the major, then only you can say you are a successful engineer. So that's the purpose. Once you are done with the coding, then the implementation, then the maintenance also plays the major role. If it is not working later, I don't know, you cannot say I don't know, you just throw it away. No, you should be able to maintain that particular changes and make sure that the required adaptability that should accept it and work according to the changes. This is how the software engineering changes goes. Fine. So by this module, that's the first module, you have learnt. Basically I said the principles you have learned, the good attributes of the softwares you have learned, and according to that the software crisis and what made the importance of software engineering. On following that, very first is the software process model, that is the 3 models, and the requirement engineering, where you learnt how to gather the collect the data and how to analyze it, what is the specification, what is the validation, and finally how to maintain it and how you will furtherly send for modeling. Is it not? So likewise, this is the fundamental how the software engineers should deal. Just one thing you have, make sure that how to collect the requirements, how to deal with that, and how to match the required software process model for that, and you will start designing in the next phase, right? So that's why we said it's an all over view. It gives you 100% knowledge. That is it's not only writing the programs and bringing up the product. No, it's also the documentation plays the major role, and what all the things you have learned till now, that is how to deal with the each of the model, that is how to deal with the precision or precisely defining the requirements is important, and on defining that should satisfy the customers, and if suppose the changes he bought later, then also your product should be able to take it. So all these things together, that makes the software engineering as the fundamental things where you have learned the principles and the ethics. So by this, that is the very first thing, you have learned the how to build the software with the fundamental concepts you have learned. So in further you will study how to design it. So on to design it, what are the requirements you need? That before is the how to write the structured programming languages. Fine. So for that you need to know, that is the in the procedural languages you need to know the structure of class and the objects. Fine. So object is an instance of class and class is the collection of objects. So in depth you will learn in the module 2 how to deal with this and how the link to the different kinds of classes and objects to bring up the object oriented models. Fine. So those are the things you are going to learn in your next class, but here make sure that you have understood with particular to the software definition. That's why Now by the time I think you have got an idea. So it's called as the, it's a systematic and it's a disciplined way as well as the cost effective manner to, it's a technique, altogether technique that makes the software development. So thank you. Control F6.